Welcome back. I hope your view of the industry, buyer-seller relationships, and the understanding of the subtle relationship between trust and value has found some space. We left the first module at this slide. It is worthwhile to spend a little more on understanding some of these stakeholders better. So, we talk about standards. Now, standards are a key building block in the tech industry, and I am very sure you hear about them all the time, even if you are very remote to the tech industry. I mentioned earlier a very wide sweeping definition of standards. That is, it is an agreed way of doing something. Now, there are several ways these can be categorized. A popular one is described on the website of BSI, which is the British Standards Institute, which was founded in 1901 and is considered by some as the world's first national standards body. So, one way to categorize standards is according to the function they need to perform, like specification, which can be highly prescriptive, setting out detailed and absolute requirements. A common use for such standards is product safety or for other applications where a high degree of certainty and assurance is required by its user community. So, the most commonly used type is often called a standard method. These are highly prescriptive documents setting out on an agreed way of measuring or testing or specifying what is reliably repeatable in different circumstances and places, wherever it needs to be applied. We also have codes of practice. These are recommended good practice as currently undertaken by competent and consensus practitioners. They are drafted to incorporate a degree of flexibility in application, still offering reliable indicative benchmarks. If you notice, this is different from a standard method where degree of repeatability and level of assurance is very, very high. It's almost like we are talking of precision and accuracy. Whereas the code of practice in its definition itself is talking about currently undertaken by competent practitioners, which means that in its definition of a code of practice, which are used, let's say, in the construction industry, or codes for guidances, sorry, guides are different, but codes in its definition itself is very clear that it is the current understanding of a given set of people. Then we have the guides. Now, guides are less prescriptive advice that are reflecting the current thinking and practice among experts in a particular field. So, there is varying degree among the three types of standards that are defined here. Now, there are other approaches as well. There are product standards, service standards, process standard, design standards. So on a lighter side, there is scope of standardization on standards too. There are even standards on standards that have been published. This is just one of several approaches. You would notice that this standard, which is BS0, is a standard for standards, principles of standardization. Very interesting read, available to be read. There is even a professional body in the United States, which was founded in 1947, which offers a personnel certification to professionals who are proficient in development of standards. Now, are you already thinking of the possibilities that exist for growth in the tech industry? Because as you can see here, there is a professional certification, which is again a conformity business offering. To get a better understanding of how standards are developed, it is good to learn more about another root concept in the tech industry, and that is consensus. I am adding a document in the quick read, which you can study later, and it is good to grasp this concept about consensus. If you are aiming to 10x a given tech business, you would need to work towards bringing to reality a conformity assessment demand supply equation that is either not there at all from scratch or is less used. So, understanding consensus can be very critical for success. Now, imagine a journey of a couple of professionals from a specific industry or across the supply chain of a product or a process who come together with an aim. The aim to define or refine or change the way a certain thing is done. Now, despite starting off with a common goal, arriving at a consensus may not be an easy task. A successful outcome of such a journey is a publication of a standard, which is an agreed way of doing something. A very successful outcome of this journey is the publication and adoption of the standard, whose implementation then provides for progress of the industry and, of course, creates a business opportunity for the tech industry. Now, let us read through a typical journey of developing a standard. There is a need or there is a proposed standard. There is formation of committee or stakeholders. Then subgroups are formed to undertake various aspects of the standard, and a draft standard is published. In order to substantiate, working groups could be created to research the data, and impact assessments could be utilized such that there is enough reasoning to ensure that why certain things in the standard are being written. And then there is wide circulation, which means the draft standard is shared with a wider group for them to give back suggestions and feedbacks on matters that the committee may have originally missed. And then the publication is out there. Now, this is a typical journey. There could be other ways and other routes that are followed to publish standards. Now, let's talk about the assignment. We build a little further from the submissions of your previous module. Pick up one of these submissions that you made and mark out the standards that you personally may want to become involved with. What are the standards that you would be eager to be part of? Or part two, from the list of the buyer-seller pairs that you wrote in one of the exercises in the previous module, draw out the pairs who could benefit if a certain standard existed. So, talk about a standard, write about a standard that does not exist right now, but could exist. Best of luck.